Welcome to our second episode of Better Catholics, wherein we talk about matters of life, matters of faith, and anything under the sun that we can talk about to help people really become better Catholics. Once again, I am Father Melvin.
I'm Bishop Ryan.
And I'm Donna.
Yes, last time we talked about the importance of this new tool that we are using, the podcast, the value of it, and also we talked about a very important item in there. I think a very important topic, which is the bringing back people to church. The ones that we have lost, and questions really why they left the church. Things that we can discuss here now. And to answer that, I think it's good to introduce the new topic, which is the synodality. What does it mean? Synodality, is that edible?
Come again? Can you? What is the word, Father Melvin?
Synodality. Pope Francis opened the Synod on Synodality last October 10. So this is by stages, very different stages, but the diocesan phase already started. We haven't opened it yet here in the diocese, but we will open it soon. So what is synodality? What is synodality?
Go, Donna.
I was taking, kind of that word kind of surprised me, synod. So I was like, I need to Google this, of course, right? Then secondly, I was like, ooh, this will make a great Scrabble word. So and thank goodness for Google. So I know the literal meaning of it, but how it is practiced in the Catholic Church, I do not.
Yes,
it's an assembly, right?
It's an assembly.
Sort.
Very good. I think I too I continue to learn. It doesn't mean, Donna, that we're experts on this topic. For me, I look at this as a way of being church. When you say gathering, it really is an opportunity for us to hear different voices in the church, because we cannot just proceed without checking, without listening. It's an act of listening. And so this, it's not even just an activity, it's a way of being church, where we have several stages, processes, steps to do so that we can truly hear what people have to say, what are their needs, their wants, their assessment, their disagreements, their complaints. And earlier, Donna, you mentioned about how we can bring back the young adults where they didn't really leave for good. Maybe they're just taking a break. That happens in a love relationship. Like,
sure,
well, I still love you, but give me my space. I want to find things on my own. And I think even in matters of faith, that has to be respected. For me, it's important that we capture the moment and take it as an opportunity for us. When you mentioned, Donna, about bringing them back to the church, again, as I said also, why did they leave? Is there something that we haven't provided? Are we irrelevant? Are we insensitive? Are we inconsiderate? Are we just doing lip service? So those kind of things. So hopefully this process of synod and synodality will be able to amplify voices that we haven't heard. Usually in a church event, it's the usual, like members of the parish council, the lectors, the Eucharistic ministers. But I think this process is inviting us to even go down and listen to the different sectors. Say, for example, the migrant workers. You mentioned about the reality of LGBTQ. They're very much part of the church, but oftentimes they feel marginalized. How do we welcome them? Right? They know the church is teaching, but are we giving them that kind of compassion and do we exclude them or do we include them? Right? Who is considered inside? Who is considered outside? So it really is an opportunity for us to listen more, and hopefully out of what perhaps if you made the data collected in this process, we can use it how we can be better Catholics, how we can be a better church.
Yes. In the mind of Pope Francis, it's really not leaving anybody behind. We are not going to leave anybody behind. We're going to work together. So in the mind of Pope Francis, I think he's talking about, he refers to the involvement of everybody into the life, into the mission of the church. So we are talking about so many things here in the idea, the new teaching of synodality. It is really very rich. Oh, but what does it mean to involve everybody? Are we going to talk only about people within the Catholic Church? Yes. So we have for example, you talked about, touch on the LGBT community. Are we going to talk about LGBT within the Catholic Church only? So I don't think that is synodal in spirit if we are going to leave the others behind.
Yes, sure.
So we are going to talk about everybody. We are going to include everybody, regardless of your faith, even regardless of your principles and belief. We have to reach out to these people.
And it's good you brought that up, because I think traditionally, we as Catholics, we go to the church. So maybe the church needs to be creative in its outreach. We were talking about all those who are not necessarily Catholics. If you want to touch the general population, maybe the church needs to expand out. Instead, try that, be more hands-on approach. Through outreach, I don't know, like community service or doing some type of service outside of the church, instead of waiting for the people to go into the church. Why don't you try to go out and bring these people in, show them the acts of kindness, show them the service, show them what Jesus did for his people during his lifetime. Let's be those types of people. Let's action, right? Action speaks louder than words. Right. Not everyone can comprehend what we're saying in our homily, but if you actually go out and show its action, maybe that will help bring people back too and say, okay, look at Father Melvin came out. Wow, the bishop is here too. Okay, so let's come in. Yeah. Let's come to church at 9:30 or at 9 a.m. on Sunday, and let's listen, and it's, why make it complicated?
Yes.
When we're preaching, interpreting the Bible is hard enough, right?
Yeah,
I mean, not anybody can understand, right? We can all read it, but do we really understand what is truly written and what points are being made or trying to be made? We rely on you to do that to us or for us, right? So we all understand and we all participate. That's how you participate.
Yes, and you mentioned about Donna about the importance of action, and I'm reminded right away. I forgot who the saint said this. Like, when you preach, and if at all possible, use words. So the best form of preaching is really through action. Because again, if you're just good with words, what good would it do in terms of real, actual service to the people? And St. Ignatius of Loyola said that love is expressed best in deeds than in words. I love that. Anything that has to do with love, it's like,
and
that's so good. Like, really, it's about action. And in fact, many of those who are who would claim as they disaffiliate, they no longer participate in the church, they have the stance of exit, they are still heavily involved in the social ministry of the church without identifying themselves as Catholics. In fact, there are many young adults who find more meaning in those direct service kind of ministry than being attached to a church. And well, for me, we need to have an open stance and mind with this reality, but we should also take this as an opportunity to ask ourselves why. then maybe we need to do something because we are lacking in what you said as, the deeds component, the
Right.
real applicability of what we preach, of what we do. Because what matters most is that, we don't just preach in the pulpit like, nice words and, Scrabble words that would get the
Mhm.
points, but how are these words translated into action?
That's true, and that is what the diocesan phase is going to hopefully address. Now, how can we reach out, really create programs wherein we can reach out to all the sectors in our society, so that literally nobody will be left behind. Nobody will go hungry. Nobody will be sad. Nobody. Of course, we are. It's as if we are sounding like we are creating a utopic society, but it's never going to happen,
Right.
of course. But why don't we try?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Why don't we try?
Yeah, and you're talking about data collection earlier. How do we get this information? How do we gauge the community? In my line of work, our stakeholders are parents, teachers, support staff, students, right? Maybe we should send out surveys. However, not everybody is technology savvy, so we need to be very mindful of that. So we need to come up with ways. How can we gauge and how can we pose these concerns to the people? And then we gather all that information, then we bring it back to the synodality, right?
Yes.
And that is where they come and they disaggregate all their information, everything that was collected. And you find out, you weigh them. Okay, this group of people prefer this way. This group, this is why they can't come. I don't know. We just we need to data collect. Of course, everything nowadays is data driven, right? Everything is heavily reliant on data. How we are able to gather that data is another way, because you can't just simply put it on social media and say, hey, please respond to this, because I guarantee you more than half of the people here cannot respond because they just don't have the capability to do so.
Yes.
I remember when I was assigned a rector at the cathedral many years ago, and then, the parish council said, let's have the suggestion box at the entrance of the cathedral, gathering data and really not knowing about scientific methods and all of that. But it's just a way of giving that space for people to express their opinion. After 2 weeks, only one piece of paper was placed in. And guess what was inside? And you turn on the AC 24/7. So we need to be careful also and really be intentional. What are we looking? And I think as a church, we need to learn from scientific methods, right? We cannot just do things our own way. We need to be open-minded and, people like you, Donna, in the educational system. And I think this is a blessing for us as a diocese, because our pastoral plan, which will end in December of 2022, the 5-year plan. So it's a blessing because while we do this process of synod and synodality, we can use the data to kind of assess what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, And one of our priorities that we said is on youth ministry, and just one of the 5. And it's important to revisit that. And what are the ways that we need to improve, and what are still, voices out there that are not amplified. Again, I always think of our youth and young adults, and we should do something more than what we are doing now.
So this diocesan phase really is crucial. We are already in the initial process of formulating the team, the synodal team.
We haven't asked Donna yet to maybe to facilitate a particular
Oh
group.
my goodness. That's going to be a side conversation.
But really, just for the sake of perhaps, imagination and planning, Donna, if you were to pick a group or a sector in our community that you would like to reach out, not necessarily you, that perhaps we have neglected to listen, who or what group or sector would that be? You mentioned earlier in the first episode about students with special needs, and that's one. You mentioned about non-Catholics, that our consultation should expand from just within the structure, the organization of the Catholic Church. But I think there's a lot of other groups or sectors out there that not only us will benefit from listening from them, but also we can find ways of reaching out to them and hopefully serving them. Yeah, but I don't know. You are more exposed to realities out there than the cloistered.
I call him the CNMI Opus Dei. I'm just kidding.
Yes.
But like I said, I receive. I'm a pretty straightforward person, and
Yes,
my
you
friends,
are.
yes, people also perceive me that way, and I'm okay with that
It's
because
good.
I expect the same, right, in return. I have friends my age group. I would say, maybe young parents and those with older children, maybe between the 35 to 50-year-old population. We were the ones that were brought up by strong faith. You must go to church on Sunday or else you're grounded, stuff like that. And it seems like a lot of us don't impress that on our children now because we want them to have the opportunity to think for themselves, or maybe we're just too busy in our professional lives that we don't have time to enforce that on our children. So, and nowadays there's just, there's a lot of freedoms now in our world, right? So we hope to leave it up to them and hope that they make the right decisions for themselves. So I would think that age group maybe is somebody we could target because we're halfway through our lives already. And it's not to say we don't believe in our faith. We don't have faith. We do have faith. And I can say that for most of the people I know, and I'm sure others out there, practicing the faith is another thing, right? Maybe they don't do it by going to church every Sunday, but they do it through community participation, helping. They're community oriented. They're in the service industry. They express their faith in other means.
Yes, yeah.
So I think that's important to let's reach out to these folks. Let's find out what took you away. Was it because it was forced on you as a child? So that's your rebellion, or is it you don't agree with everything? Has the church become more judgmental, as you've matured and you're able to figure that out in your own head, right? And we're questioning those beliefs now. It's not to say we don't have the faith, but we just don't agree with some of the practices.
Yes.
So I think that would help.
Yeah, when you mentioned about the age group, Donna, did you say 35 and
to about 50?
50, because I know I'm a few months older than you and I'll be 50 this year. Yeah, so I agree. And I think this is really the age group that we should also pay attention. Right, a lot of emphasis is on youth, but actually I've read an article that our model, our priority should be the adult catechesis, adult formation should be the model, because if you do that, then the adults would show good example to the kids, to the youth. And it's a visual reminder for the younger ones that learning about our faith is in a continuum. It doesn't stop. So even though you're about to celebrate your 50th birthday, that we continue to learn, right? So because most often, our usual CCD, we have the drop-off parents. You just drop the kids, let sister take care of their formation. But how can we also give continuing formation of faith to that age group? So there's I think he works in the field of theology. He's just very much influenced in our understanding of the faith formation. We go through stages, right? And there's a stage wherein you value community. there's a stage wherein you rebel. You focus more on this sense of the individual, meaning making, what matters to me. And then you move on to that stage called conjunctive stage, wherein, wait a minute, I still value my community. I did go through that stage of questioning because I was disappointed, I was angry with the church, it doesn't make sense. But now that I'm at the stage of my faith, I will revisit that sense of community and try to synthesize that there's a new way of looking, right? So perhaps that's something that we can look into and really target on
Yes.
actually our age group. How old are you, Father Melvin?
46.
He's the youngest.
You're just a young lad.
Is he 1 year younger than you?
Well, actually, he's 3 years older than me.
Wow.
But
So we definitely need to talk a lot,
Yes.
about this topic. Again, this is a very rich topic, and even the synod still, I don't think they have a perfect clue or understanding of what the synod on synodality really means. But at least on our part, we'll try to do our best to make sure that people understand it concretely. So we will try to create programs, activities, also introduce the different sectors that need to be represented. You already talked about the youth. You already talked about the, I don't know how to call this stage,
Yes.
the older youth or the younger manangkul. I don't know.
We call it mid
Yes.
amko.
Yes,
I like that.
so mid-amko.
Yeah,
And many other sectors that need to be represented. We need to bring that in on the table for discussion, so that we can listen more to them, understand more of their situation. And if you have suggestions, if you have ideas, like, for example, what sector of society that need to be represented, comment down and give us your suggestion, your ideas, your questions. Help us out so we can help you also. This is our way of listening. This is another aspect of synodality. We'll try to listen as much as we can, and hopefully we'll become your lips as well. God bless you. I'm Father Melvin.
I'm Bishop Ryan.
And I'm Donna.
And we're hoping to see you next episode.
Take care.